Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea, and a happy first Friday of Lent to everyone. As you notice, sans makeup, but anyways, not really the point. So I do apologize. It has taken me some time to finally get to it, especially the UZOD. Between the beep machine and the CMS and having to talk several people on the spectrum down from all the craziness that broke out, I kind of got a little bit overwhelmed, but that's neither here nor there. We are going to kill the beep machine. The movement has begun. Anyways, not the point. So, my name is Tiffany Daniels, folks, and today we are going to read through the article in regards to the sad passing and suicide of Tom Cole, and we're going to get into the ring boy schedule of the early 1990s. Some of you folks have already gone through the articles on some of your channels, for example, Stevie J. Raw and Come Geek Some. This is going to be a little bit of a repeat, but I do want to assist in getting the word out there. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this pulled up. So this was written by Paul Davis, and it was published on February the 12th, 2021. I'm going to get better so we can actually read through the articles, guys. I just got a lot to learn still. Alright. Tom Cole, former WWE ring boy who accused officials of abuse and sexual harassment, has committed suicide is the name of the title. Tom Cole has passed away due to suicide, according to a post by his brother Lee Cole on Twitter. Cole worked as a ring boy in the World Wrestling Federation in the late 80s and early 90s, later alleged that Director of Wrestling Operations Terry Garvin, real name Terry Joyle, sexually harassed him. It was also alleged that ring announcer Mel Phillips had a weird fascination with Cole's feet, and Pat Patterson groped him. Let's move on here. Cole alleged that a top official grabbed his genitals numerous times, and he was driven to the WWE's official house, where he was asked to smoke marijuana, snort cocaine, and have sex. Cole says the official refused to take him home when he refused the advances, and he was fired on the following day. All three of the men accused resigned, but Patterson was eventually brought back. According to the court documents, Cole says he was later offered $55,000 to return and work as a crew member. The allegations were covered all over the media at the time, including an infamous episode of Donahue with Vince McMahon addressing allegations from Cole and others. From June 7th, 1993, Wrestling Observer Newsletter. Tom Cole, the WWF ring boy who was largely responsible for much of the negative publicity that surrounded the WWF last year, filed a $1.6 million suit against Titan Sports, Pat Patterson, no one ding me on that, Mel Phillips, and Terry Garvin this past Tuesday. This is a long, involved story with many twists and turns. The lawsuit is a three-parter. Part 1 reopens the claims of sexual harassment of a homosexual nature by the top WWF officials. Cole first brought forth these claims last year in a front-page article in the San Diego Union. The story didn't name any names, but did detail certain situations and had other ring boys claim sexual abuse was prevalent. Almost immediately... Hold up. There we go. Patterson, Phillips, and Garvin, who were the three men Cole's initial claims were about, but whose names had yet to be brought out in public, resigned their positions. Patterson was brought back several months later, but Phillips and Garvin never returned. Cole's attorneys brought forth a complaint that was settled before a lawsuit was ever filed. The settlement was an agreement between Cole and Titan Sports last year, in which Cole received $55,000 and was rehired as a ring boy and offered a tryout as a ring announcer. Okay. Hold up, I lost my spot. As part of this settlement, according to the complaint, Cole agreed to never bring up his charges again, and Titan agreed never to ask him to retract his initial charges. The lawsuit claims Titan breached that settlement agreement by failing to give Cole a tryout as a ring announcer, which is largely the crux of the new lawsuit. Hold on. Okay. A breach of contract, and also Titan continued attempted to get Cole to go to public and retract his sexual abuse and harassment charges. The third part of the suit claims that Titan officials attempted to get Cole to sign an affidavit stating that things weren't true about his brother, Lee Cole, who at the time was going on several radio stations making claims. Tom Cole in the suit claims he didn't want to sign it, but finally did because Titan wouldn't allow him to leave a room until he signed it, and the suit claims he was falsely imprisoned. While this isn't certain given the wording of the Titan lawsuit against Philip Mushnick, it can be ascertained that statements Cole signed claiming Mushnick and Lee Cole had conspired against Titan and induced Tom to create an untrue story, which may have been a key point in the lawsuit against Mushnick. Given the circumstances of what came out publicly during that time, that specific charge of imprisonment sounds curious on the surface, since it was well known publicly at the time of the split between Tom Cole and Lee Cole. This new suit also does not name names when it comes to specific harassment charges by specific individuals, as the previous complaint did, and doesn't detail the incidents of sexual abuse as the initial complaint did, which is also curious. Lee Cole discussed his brother's allegations during an interview with Hannibal TV last year. Okay, so that's going over some of it. Okay, folks. So, what we've got here is something that you can obviously see. You have somebody that was suffering from a little something I know all about myself. It's called post-traumatic stress disorder. When you go through abuse, and it is traumatic enough, oh God, I can't believe I said that. When you go through a trauma period, that has there's psychological damage that is involved, period. Whether that is physical abuse, whether you are in a war zone, whether it's sexual abuse, PTSD is a very, very real thing. What you see all too often in these cases are folks who want to dismiss a story like Tom Cole's. They want to write him off as a troubled individual and cite the actual suicide as evidence to their point. If you take a look at the comment section of this article I just read to you, you can even see some of the folks saying exactly that. And they feel like saying he was a troubled individual would explain his claims, and they just write it off. This happens a lot to abuse victims. Whether it is child abuse, whether it's DV, whether it is abuse that is going on in the workplace. It is an all too common tactic that is used in order to discredit the victim. And the people who generally use this are the abusers, or in this case, a corporation. Now, what you are going to be hearing a lot, probably within the next few days, is they are going to highlight him as a troubled individual, Tom Cole. They are going to be finding out whatever skeletons they think that his brother has, and they are going to tout all kinds of reasons as to what they think the motive is that this is being brought out now. Here's the thing. This is not about money. It's not about advancement. I'm sorry, but it's not. Lee Cole has been very open about the fact that when they were young men and they did need help financially, that taking that settlement was something that they felt was necessary at the time. This gentleman is older now. This is not about the money anymore. Not for him, not for the family, not for Tom Cole's grieving daughters. This is about systematic abuse within a corporation that everybody went to cover up. And facts are, when you go to cover something up, the issue is never dealt with. So who knows how many Tom Coles there may actually be out there, and how many tragic tales like his that we don't know about that there may be. Corporations like this, when they are not held accountable, you know the old saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely, don't you? When you are willing to side with such a corporation, when such allegations are so well known, and you're willing to excuse it or make excuses for them, you are part of the problem. If you truly love a corporation or a sport, what you should want is for things to come to light, for the higher ups, the CEOs, to address the issues and take them on head on. You should want transparency completely. You should want to know what's being done in regards to when things like this popped up. You would want these CEOs to handle their business, not go and cover things up. But that's not what happened here. What happened was a young man, as well as other young men, were put in a horrible situation, and terrible things were done to them. When things like that happen to you, you live with that trauma every single day of your life. Some days are better than others. Sometimes you can go for years completely fine. You see the wrong thing, something hits you the wrong way, and you are triggered. Guess what? It happens. Sometimes when you are triggered the wrong way, there can be fatal results. Things like this need to be brought out into the light of day, not hidden behind the closet. And we cannot be complicit in corporations hiding their dirty laundry because we like the product that they produce. If we don't hold our entertainers and those that oversee them responsible, then we are complicit then when young boys are being abused, when there are people who are murdered and it's covered up. We become complicit. You know that old saying about evil only prevails when good men say nothing? That's the kind of situation we're talking about here. I don't know what finally led to Tom Cole making that final decision. As someone who suffers from PTSD, it can be as simple as a split-second triggering. It really can be. So, the trauma is lifelong. These folks deserve justice, they deserve accountability, they deserve transparency, and most important of all, they deserve for their stories to be told. And they deserve better than to have their traumas used as an excuse to discredit them. Alright folks, I will probably have more on this a little later. That's what I've got for now. Now folks, as usual, final thing here, we don't get many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed by YouTube, so please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments. I do believe I'm going to start talking about on some of these videos PTSD, being a sufferer of it, being an Army brat and having had my grandfather had PTSD from World War II, and my brother was there for the Fort Hood massacre. So I would like to talk about how that affects the person. It's something that's not all too often covered, and when it is, more often than not, it can be turned into cheap jokes. So we'll be talking about that. I do appreciate your time this afternoon. I do hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.